right, the next few days could be big for President Biden. Tomorrow, the president plans to meet with the top four congressional leaders to discuss his massive spending proposals, the $2.3 trillion American Jobs Plan and the reportedly $1.8 trillion American Families Plan. The next day, Thursday, he plans to meet with a group of Republican senators to talk about a potential compromise to his infrastructure proposal, which the Penn-Wharton budget model projects would actually spend $2.7 trillion rather than $2.3 trillion over the 10-year budget window. It also projects that the American Families Plan would spend $2.5 trillion, not $1.8 trillion. So the president's $4.1 trillion spending proposals, his plans, are more like $5.2 trillion. But, when you're dealing with trillions, what's another trillion here or there? Joining me now to talk about the president's proposal is Congressman Jason Smith. He represents the 8th Congressional District of Missouri. He is the ranking member on the House Budget Committee and serves on the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Tony, it's great to be with you.
All right. Americans see bait and switch all the time online, but it doesn't appear everyone's seeing through the president's plans here.
We saw this with the original COVID bill, which they call what I call the Biden bailout bill, where you saw less than 9% of the roughly $2 trillion went towards crushing the virus and putting shots in people's arms. You're seeing that with the infrastructure package right now. The $2.3 trillion infrastructure package, less than 6% goes to roads and bridges, less than 2% towards locks and dams, and 5% for broadband. There's more money, Tony, being spent on creating electric charging stations across this country than roads, bridges, locks, and dams. And we keep talking about trillions of dollars like you were just discussing, but think about this. It's so hard to comprehend. There's not one trillionaire in the entire world, not one. And when you think of $2.3 trillion in spending, 2.3 trillion, you could build the national interstate highway system 4 complete times in today's dollars with $2.3 trillion. That's how much spending that is.
Yeah. I often think, Jason, the best thing that conservatives could do for America is actually push through legislation that would require truth in advertising from legislation that's being pushed through. I mean, as you pointed out, so little of this is going to infrastructure. So little of the jobs creations going for jobs. It's a grab bag for the left. So what do you think is going to come of the president's meetings he has later this week with congressional leaders?
A lot of his meetings are just photo ops is what we've been seeing virtually. If the president wants to have a true infrastructure package that is about roads and bridges, locks and dams and broadband, you could find a bipartisan package. It does not need to be $2.3 trillion and having the largest tax increase in the history of the United States included. That would basically increase our tax rates higher than that of communist China. If we could do something not with that kind of items in it, we could pass it. We could definitely pass something. But just in the first 100 days of his administration, he has proposed or passed $7.5 trillion in spending or proposed spending. That's $75 billion a day, Tony. That's crazy.
Put that in perspective for our listeners when you look at the annual budget for the federal government.
The annual budget for the federal government, which he proposed of $1.5 billion. Think about that, $1.5 billion of discretionary spending of the annual budget. So $6 trillion has been spent otherwise, $2 trillion for the COVID package, and then $4 trillion in this proposed infrastructure package and the family infrastructure package.
I mean, this eclipses what we would normally spend in a year. I mean, it's mammoth when you look at the size of this.
Tony, if you also want to think about this, we have, if you count all the COVID packages within the last year, that comes to $6 trillion. And then you count these the two proposals by President Biden of $4 trillion, that comes up to $10 trillion in less than a year. Think about this: $10 trillion is the entire wages of all Americans in this country. 325 million plus Americans, all of their wages for a year does not even add up to $10 trillion.
Amazing. I want to, well, first off, let me give you I'm going to ask you to handicap this. What are the prospects of these measures getting through Congress?
Well, you would think that they would be difficult because Congress has a razor thin majority in the House. It's 218 to 212. Virtually, if Speaker Pelosi loses 3 Democrats, the bill can't pass. The Senate is 50-50 split with the tie-breaking vote of the vice president. If they try to push this through with reconciliation, they're going to have a problem because there's already been 20 plus House Democrats that said unless you address the SALT deduction, which is the state and local income tax proposal that basically rewards a lot of wealthy folks who live on the East and West Coast. If they don't add that into it, these 20 or 30 Democrats said that they won't support a reconciliation package moving forward. So they got a lot of different dynamics. If we could get to a bipartisan approach where it was maybe $600 to $800 billion, we could get it passed. But I think that they're going to try to force through a reconciliation, and that's going to be very, very difficult for them. But if the Democrats stick together, they can push it through. But I think that they do have some serious problems.
Wow. Well, we're out of time. I didn't even get to the border. We're going to have to get you back on and talk about that again. But I think people are very, very concerned about all this spending that is being proposed out of Washington. Congressman, so good to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Tony, it's great to be with you, sir.